What if the truth they taught you to hide is actually the one that frees you? This isn't about getting louder this week. It's about ending the part of you that keeps disappearing. So, welcome back, beautiful ones. I'm Cindi, astrologer, mystic, and your guide through the stars. My deep dives take us beneath the prediction into myth, wound, and medicine. So you don't just learn astrology, you heal with it. Eris, right here, this is the symbol for Eris, and she is in Aries right now. Eris and Chiron, this is the symbol for Chiron. And you can see they're both at 25 degrees Aries, and they're both retrograde. That's the sign for retrograde. Okay, so that's what we'll be talking about today. So, Eris and Chiron meeting in Aries doesn't happen often. And when it does, it's personal. This is where the story of rejection, that is Eris, meets the wound of abandonment, that is Chiron. Both turned inward at retrograde, both demanding to be seen. This deep dive isn't about astrology for entertainment. It's about what happens when those old silences start to crack, when your own fire refuses to stay hidden. So today we go into that fire, not to burn, but to remember. So, who are Eris and Chiron? What happens when the one who was never invited, Eris, meets the wound that was never healed, Chiron? Eris is the exile. In myth, she's the goddess who wasn't invited to the feast, but she showed up anyway, holding a golden apple inscribed for the fairest. And with that one act, she revealed the hypocrisy of harmony built on exclusion. Now, Chiron is the wounded healer, the immortal teacher struck by a wound he could never cure himself, who spent his entire life turning his pain into medicine for others. Now, beautiful ones, imagine these two standing together in the same place right here in Aries, the sign of raw courage and selfhood at 25 degrees Aries. And remember, both are retrograde. So that means they're turning their gaze backward into the unhealed stories of your own past. This isn't abstract. It's the lived memory of when your voice was ignored, of when your truth was dismissed, of when your fire punished for being inconvenient. Now, maybe you remember being told you were too much. Maybe you were told to be quiet, don't make a scene, or that what you felt was an exaggeration. And over time, you learned that silence bought survival. But the cost was you erasing your true self. That's Eris. That's Chiron. One carrying the anger of being excluded, the other carrying the ache of being hurt and then abandoned with it. Now, together with them sitting in Aries, the warrior sign, and their message is blunt. Their message is you cannot keep disappearing. This isn't about rage for its own sake. It's about remembering the sacred truth. And that is that you were never meant to shrink so others could be comfortable. You were meant to exist fully as you are. So, if you've been feeling that restless fire in your chest, that sense of, I can't stay quiet anymore, it's driving me crazy, that is not random. It's the conjunction moving through you. The exile is meeting the wound, and both are demanding that you step back into the room you were pushed out of. And here's the beauty. The story doesn't end with being dismissed or broken. The story ends with you appearing, finally, wholly, and unapologetically. So, understand this. This isn't just a wound remembered. It's a wound set on fire. The Aries full moon at 14 degrees is already a torch, raw, unfiltered fire that demands honesty. But this week, that torch throws its light across the conjunction of Eris and Chiron at 25 degrees, and both are retrograde. So, what does that mean? It means the warrior's fire isn't shining on a new story. It's shining directly on the old wounds and buried exclusions that shaped you. The places you've been dismissed. The rooms where your presence felt like too much. The memories where your truth cost you belonging. And under the full moon's light, those wounds won't stay private anymore. They burn. Eris is saying, do you see where you erased yourself to keep the peace? And Chiron is saying, do you see the scar you've carried so long that you begin to call it normal? The moon doesn't let you look away. And in Aries, there's no option to keep swallowing what hurts. Silence becomes combustible. So this is why so many of us are feeling restless right now, anxious, edgy, maybe even angry without knowing why. That, my beautiful ones, is not weakness. It's recognition. The fire is pressing against the places you tried to lock away. And here's where astrology turns into medicine. The moon squaring Jupiter in Cancer magnifies it. So everything feels bigger. Your emotions, your confrontations, the urge to act. It can feel like your inner warrior is pacing in the cage, demanding to be released. So the question becomes, do you erupt in chaos, or do you channel the fire into clarity? The conjunction of Eris and Chiron, lit by this moon, says you're standing at the threshold. You can no longer pretend the exile didn't happen. You can no longer pretend the wound doesn't ache. But what you can do is decide whether this fire consumes you or forges you. And if you felt silence for years in your family, in your relationships, in your work, and even in your own body, this is why it feels so raw right now. The astrology is literally pulling the gag from your mouth. The moon is saying your silence is no longer safe. So let's look at some evidence about what I'm saying. Every time in the past, when Eris and Chiron are lit up, the same story resurfaces. The wound of being silenced and the eruption that follows when silence can't hold anymore. So let's look at this in the long story, the long arc, beautiful ones, because this isn't just about 2025. This is an ancient cycle and rhythm that's been happening, okay? In myth, Eris was the goddess no one invited. She was left out, she was dismissed, treated as if her presence was trouble. Does that sound familiar to some of you? Maybe most of you. Her vengeance wasn't mindless, though. It was the mirror. She exposed the fault lines that everyone wanted to ignore. Now, Chiron, the wounded healer, he was struck by a wound he could never heal. He spent his entire life tending to others, teaching medicine and wisdom, but carried pain no one could erase. His story is the reminder that some wounds don't disappear, but they can become the path of service, compassion, and mastery. When these two archetypes meet in Aries, the sign of voice, of courage, and fire, Their stories collide. The excluded one and the wounded one both saying, I will not vanish and I will not remain hidden. Now, in history, Eris and Chiron aren't New Age ideas. They show up at cultural fault lines. In 1968, Eris was heavily aspected when students and workers rose up around the globe, and they were saying, we will not stay silent, even if it costs us everything. In the early 1970s, Chiron's discovery collided with breakthroughs in holistic medicine, therapy, and spiritual healing, a collective remembering that wounds could also be wisdom. Now, most recently, when Eris was activated by Uranus and Pluto in the mid-2010s, movements like Me Too and social justice uprising exploded. Silences that had been held for generations cracked open. Each time, the pattern is the same: exclusion, eruption, and reclamation. Okay? Now, in 2025, this Aries full moon lights up Eris and Chiron retrograde at 25 degrees Aries. And you can already feel it in the world. Workers, women, and marginalized voices are refusing to stay quiet. There's strikes and protests and lawsuits. Lawsuits are surfacing not out of nowhere, but out of years of silence that have reached combustion. Families are confronting old stories. The ones, the long held secrets, the buried pain, truth that were off limits before are now surfacing at the dinner table, so to speak. On a personal level, I know many of you feel it in your own lives. Maybe you've been the one always carrying others, never acknowledged, never invited, always giving while bleeding in silence. How many of you know that one? Or maybe you've been the one whose truth felt too loud, too messy, too disruptive, so you swallowed it. I know many of you felt that one and know that one. And now the fire in Aries refuses to let you swallow anymore. That's the thread through time. Whenever Eris and Chiron are lit up, what was excluded demands recognition. What was wounded demands voice. And the Aries full moon says, this time, your silence is not survival. This time, your silence is surrender. Now, beautiful ones, if you're still with me right now, this is your sign. You already know this isn't surface astrology. This is remembrance. If this is hitting your soul and helping you see your own story in the stars, subscribe now so you don't miss the next remembering. Because every week I bring you the forecast, the deep dives, and the transmissions that help you shift timelines and live the life your chart always promised. Now, when the fire of Eris and Chiron rises, you don't have to drown in it. You can work with it. You can turn it into medicine. So, beautiful ones, let's talk about some tools. Because when Eris and Chiron are lit by the Aries full moon, the wound isn't whispering, it's roaring. And if you've been feeling restless, angry, or even broken open, it's not a sign that you're weak. It's a sign the fire has found the silence and it wants to move through. So here's how we let it move without being consumed by it. All right. Now, what I want you to do is find a comfortable seat. Now, these things I can let you know. I can only give you the guidance. It is up to you to do it. Everybody has free will. Okay. So this first one, you need to find a comfortable seat. And then I want you to place your left hand on your left thigh, your right hand on your right thigh. Right? So place your hands on your thighs. And then I want you to just begin tapping in a rhythm. Left to right, left or right to left, right to left, and then right to left, back and forth, back and get a comfortable, slow rhythm for you. Back and forth, back and forth as you're tapping your thighs, back and forth, slow and steady, slow and steady. And then as you do and get your rhythm the way that you want it, that feels comfortable, feels good, starts feeling soothing, I want you to take a deep breath, okay, as you're tapping. And then I want you to tell yourself, I am safe to feel this fire. I am safe to feel this fire. I am safe to release it. I am safe to release it. Now, what you're doing is signaling to your nervous system that it doesn't have to stay stuck in the loop of pain. The fire is still here, but your body learns it can flow. Okay? That's the first one. The second one, I want you to now, sitting in the same position, you can be sitting or standing, but it's probably more comfortable to sit. Now, when you begin to feel a wound, the wound rising, the memory, right? So now, if you feel the wound rising, the memory, the ache, the words you swallowed, I want you to lift your eyes, okay? So look up, but I want your face straight, but you to look up a little, okay? And then I want you to let them gently move left to right, left gently, left to right, left to right, back and forth. And almost picture like a pendulum swinging back and forth, back and forth. Okay? Now, as you move your eyes, I want you to stay with that feeling that's come up, the wound, the ache, the words that you had to swallow, right? And I want you to stay with that feeling as you move your eyes back and forth. And then I want you to notice how it begins to shift as it softens and almost like it untangles, right? This simple rhythm helps your mind release what has held in tight circles for so long. Okay? So just back and forth and stay with that feeling until it softens. Okay? When it softens, you'll know that the energies move through. Okay? Now, this simple rhythm, again, helps your mind release what it's held really tight. Okay? And it's held it for too long. So it may take some time for you. All right. And you can do this as many times as you need to, as the ache or the memory or the words. Here's a ritual or steps to take. You can call it whatever you want. Okay. It's up to you and your belief system. I want you to light a candle and I want you to sit with it and let its flame, like, isn't its intention, like, make the flame the intention of Aries fire that refuses to vanish. Okay, that's what I want you to do. And then when you've got that intention and you can see that it's Aries fire that's refusing to vanish, okay, now I want you to say the words you've never been allowed to say. Either you didn't allow yourself or you weren't allowed. Okay, and as you speak them, I want you to tap your chest left, right, left, right. So left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand, right? And it's to give your heart a rhythm, left, right, left, right. And I want you to let the fire, as you're focused on the fire, let the fire carry those words that you've never been allowed to say. Let your body feel safe holding them. Okay? This isn't just ritual. This is you remembering. You're remembering that your fire isn't dangerous. It's sacred. And you're letting your body know you're safe. It's sacred. Okay? Now, one more thing is we'll do some journaling, right? So I want you to take a piece of paper or your journal and take a page and write it. And what I want you to write is, What story of exile or silence am I ready to stop carrying alone? Okay. What story of exile or silence am I ready to stop carrying alone? The next thing I want you to question is, how does my body want me to release it? Now, don't edit, don't judge. I don't want any of that. I just want you to let the fire within you speak through your pen. Sometimes what you've held for decades will surprise you with how clear it becomes once it's written. So don't hold back. Don't try to edit. Don't. I just want you to write after you ask yourself those two questions. Beautiful ones, Eris and Chiron retrograde in Aries ask us to face the silence we thought we could survive by keeping. But survival isn't the same as living. So it's time to live. And these tools, the tapping, the eye sweeps, the fire ritual, they're not just exercises, they're thresholds. Each one tells your nervous system, I am no longer abandoned. I am no longer erased. I am here and my fire is safe with me. So now that we did a little bit of tools and ritual work, right? Let's do some integration, some activation, right? So beautiful ones, the work doesn't end when the rituals end, okay? This week, the sky is asking you to practice living as if the fire is already yours, okay? So how do we carry this into the days ahead? How do we take the revelations of Eris and Chiron, lit by this Aries full moon, and actually live them? So this is what I'm calling like your daily embodiment, okay? Every time you feel the old silence creeping back, that hesitation in your throat, the tightening in your chest, I want you to pause. Place a hand gently over your throat and one over your heart. And I want you to take a deep breath. And I want you to say, in your head or out loud, it's up to you. My truth is safe with me. My fire is safe with me. Now it only takes a few seconds, okay? And you owe yourself that. But it retrains your nervous system while you're doing this, that speaking is no longer dangerous, that it's sacred, okay? Each night, if you want to, you can light a candle and thank yourself for one truth you honored that day. Big or small, it doesn't matter. The act of acknowledging builds the muscle of reclamation. And by the end of the week, you'll notice the torch doesn't feel so heavy anymore. And remember, this that you're all doing right now isn't just personal. Eris and Chiron, illuminated by Aries, the moon, they're playing out across the collective, everybody. So if you notice protests rising, scandals breaking, truth being shouted in public spaces, see them as mirrors. What the world is erupting with is also what you're learning to hold within yourself. Because, beautiful ones, this week isn't about becoming someone else. It's about remembering the parts of you that were exiled and saying, I see you, I choose you, and I carry you forward. The Aries full moon, joined with Eris and Chiron, says silence is no longer survival. Voice is survival. Presence is survival. And fire is survival. And as you practice these small acts of voice and ritual and steps to take and remembrance, you're not just healing your own wound. You're helping heal the collective wound of every soul who has ever been told to sit down, stay quiet, and disappear. Because, beautiful ones, you were never meant to live in silence. The Aries full moon has lit the conjunction of Eris and Chiron like a torch at the heart of the exile. And she's not whispering, she's roaring. She says, the wound you've carried, the silence you've endured, the moments you vanished just to survive, they are not your final story. Eris is here to remind us Being uninvited does not mean you are unworthy. And Chiron is here to remind us the scar you carry is not your shame, it's your wisdom. And the Aries moon reminds us fire was never meant to be hidden, fire is meant to shine. So here we are at the threshold. You may feel restless, raw, or even trembling, but that trembling is the sound of your voice returning. That fire in your chest is not here to consume you, it's here to awaken you. And this week, speak even if your voice shakes. Write the truth that aches. Light your torch in the night. And remember, you were never here to shrink. You were never here to swallow yourself. You were never here to carry silence as proof of strength. No, beautiful one, you were here to live it, to remember the self you promised to become, to burn not in fear, but in freedom. So as this week unfolds, hold this knowing close. The stars are not asking you to be louder. They are asking you to be truer. The wound is not here to break you. It is here to guide you. And the fire is not here to punish you. It is here to set you free. So beautiful ones, this is your moment. Step into it as if the universe has been waiting, because it has. And guess what? So have you. The sky is alive, and so are you. And the stars, remember, they're not just above you. They are within you, always. And beautiful ones, this is why I bring you these deep dives every Monday, because the surface forecast isn't enough. These alignments aren't just charts. They're living mirrors. They show us the wound, the fire, and the thresholds we're walking together. If this message stirred something in you, remember to hype this video. Every hype tells YouTube that these truths matter, and help this light ripple out into the collective, the ones who need it most. And if you're ready to keep walking deeper, watch my forecast that shifts timelines for this week, so you can see how the Aries full moon plays into the whole cosmic arc. Or you can step into the full moon and eclipse playlist I have, because every lunation builds the larger destiny we're living now. But remember, stay close, beautiful ones. Until next time, remember, the stars are not just above you, they're within you.